My guest today is Lynn Singer. She was born with a special voice and an ear for spoken language. For over 30 years, she has helped people find their voice and has taught acting, speech, and voice at, oh, wow, so many places: Yale, NYU, the New School, Circle in the Square, the Actors and Directors Lab, so many, I can't even tell you them all. But she's also worked with a wide range of clients, from Tony, Emmy, Golden Globe, Pulitzer Prize, and Fulbright winners to Fortune 500 companies and top business and management executives. She's appeared off-Broadway, on television and film, and was a well-known voice of radio and television commercials for 2 decades. She currently offers private and group acting, voice, and diction classes through her long-established practice. In her more than 30 years of experience, she has facilitated the awakening of creative consciousness in her students and has watched them achieve their creative potential. And she's written Breaking Into Brilliance, an online multimedia, multi-sensorial experience of creative consciousness, which documents her journey while simultaneously guiding others through theirs. Quite impressive, Lynn. We are just delighted to have you today.
Well, thank you. I also had a not-profit for a while because I was doing photography with the Greek government. And all of that has gone into the book.
Wow.
This is my latest. The photography, all my artwork, therapy, spirit work, many exercises from voice and acting, which I'm hoping will excite people because people love to know about actors. And so there's a lot of information with the kind of exercises anyone can do for their creativity, but they are usually done with acting classes.
Where did you get the idea for a book like this? Because it is multidimensional and, it's very different.
My dearest friend is in Tel Aviv. She called me. I dreamt you published a book. And she is a seer. She has a big third eye. And I had to take this very, very seriously. So I went to Israel, sat with her at the Mediterranean, which was amazing, of course, and said, what in the world am I writing about? And she said, well, what are you doing? We know what you're doing. She actually came to me as a client, which is how I met her. And I said, well, I do communication, I'm doing art, and transformation is a very big part of what I do. And so there it was born, art, transformation, communication. But I always saw it online. There also is a soft cover is coming onto Amazon, and I do have hardcover coffee table book that's going on to Blurb. But I always saw it online in a way that people could use anything and everything that inspired them to change. So my original thought was that they could bring in movies and they could bring in, anything and everything. And of course that would have taken a year to open. So it's animated. All of the photography and all of the artwork is animated. It's interactive in that there is every 2 pages there is a little golden key which you open to another part of the site, and there's a work page for you to be writing. I'm asking questions at the top of it, and I have a visual. The visual can change. You can bring your own visual in, and you can bring links in. You can't bring a movie in, or 3 movies or 4 movies, but you can bring links in for poetry, for literature, for very short videos, and that's your record of your movement, your internal movement. And it's very exciting. I'm also giving workshops.
It's very, very different. My gosh, I've never even
very different
anything. Yeah, but
there are for children, but not for adults. And I'm told that it is unusual. This is what I've been told. It's very playful. It's very childlike, very creative, and very poetic. So I had a very strong shift in my consciousness, and it took me a lot of work to integrate it. And I know what it takes. I've been on both sides. I've been suppressed and I was opened up. And I know that it's worth the world to own who you are and own what you're doing on the earth, And
well, that's true, Lynn.
I wanted to make it, I'm sorry, one more thing. I wanted to make it easier for people to look.
Well, but first of all, you did something very unusual. Number one, your friend says to you, I dreamt or I had this vision that you wrote this book. You hop on a plane to Israel. You didn't just say, well, what is this all about? You hopped on a plane to Israel and you sat by the Mediterranean Sea and you talked about that. Now, not a whole lot of people are going to do something like that. So that's unusual to begin with. And you created this real work of art, but you also talk a lot about creative consciousness.
Right.
What exactly do you mean by that?
I think we all believe that art is creativity. If I can't paint, I'm not an artist. Therefore, I'm not creative. And I think this is changing in the world now. I remember years ago, a lawyer named, I think his name was Daniel, Pink was his last name, which I liked. He wrote a book, if you're not going into your right brain, you're going to die. Like the world is beginning to really embrace the female energy, which is the creative energy. And we've been in that suppression, with this very strong, move it forward through your intellect. So we all grew up, and except for the children that are very young now, believing that, where in fact you can't walk across the street without your creativity. Your spine is involved, your feet are involved, your eyes have to see, your breathing. And we all have tremendous ability of creativity. Every single thing we do every day is creating something. And we know this intellectually, but we don't know it viscerally. And that's, again, part of what I'm trying to teach. I'm a born teacher. I'm really good at teaching. I can teach things I don't know how to do. And I mean that. I mean, it's funny. Somebody will say, gee, I want to figure that out. And I go, well, let's sit down and think about how you can do that. And I love the play. And play is a very big part of my book. It has serious questions, but the visuals are they're very alive. The photography, everything's moving. There are maps. There are maps that I named. Each page is named, connecting to the entire chapter, which is actually something I call an attraction, because it's not a chapter in the old way of thinking about it. So you can just go to individual pages if you like. You can wander through it. It's like a garden. You can wander through it, start in the middle, go from the beginning. It doesn't matter, because there's something there that's going to incite you and invite you and interest you. And I want to make transformation easier for people than it was for me, and that I see with a lot of people struggling to make shifts in their life. We're in a time of a very big evolutionary time. Things are changing a lot very quickly. So there's a lot of energy out there. I've been told this astrologically. There's a lot of energy for change. So I'm a part of that, and it's exciting.
Well, I'm sure it is. And the whole concept of your ideas and being able to break into brilliance, which is what your book is called, and it's evolved into all of these other things. But what do you think clouds people's brilliance? And of course, a lot of people don't think they have any brilliance, so that's number one.
That's number one, exactly. I think we're all born with a genius. Everyone has a genius. I mean, sometimes it's just very simple. To us, it's very simple. It's like the guy that's cleaning the street. His genius is he's getting his child through college. He came in, he had a debt with that child, or he had a love, or he had a promise to that child, and it's under all kinds of circumstances that he's going to get this child into a great school, so she's going to have a great future. right?
That's
Now
right.
that to us sounds, okay, we've gone to college, we know how to do that. But to them, it's huge. So that's their genius, and we're all born with a genius. I think it gets rubbed out of us by the fears that we inherit. I think we inherit fears genetically, and we can change that lately also, I've been told. Epigenetics is about turning your genes on and off. So we grow up in certain circumstances. When I was very, very young, I said, I'm going to Berkeley. And everyone around went, you're what? You're going to California? You're what? And I went, yeah, I'm going to Berkeley summer school. I want to be in California. And it was just madness for a few days. But I went because I had this idea about California, and I ended up transferring from the East to go to school there. I think that we are our most deepest needs are pressured down, Don't do that. It's not good for you. What about your mother? What about your father? What about your family? Do it this way. Don't do it that way. So those instincts that we have when we're children, I just gave a webinar, and I've given Facebook Live on this. I want you to look at, I'm asking people to look at what they saw as a child. When were they connected to the thing they loved the most?
Well, you're right on there, because I was just going to say that I think a lot of what you're talking about as far as brilliance, it's batted down with rules and regulations. I mean, what do they say? They say a kid is creative until the first grade. And in the first grade, they start to learn all of these, rules and regulations. Don't do this, do that. And I mean, I understand that you need to have some kind of structure. But again, it is kind of out of you. That's right.
You need to have the support. I mean, if the community and the parents weren't so afraid themselves, they would be supporting this vision. I think of Philippe Petit, and remember Philippe Petit? He walked, he was an aerialist, and he managed to get I don't know what they're called, lines across the World Trade Center, and he walked in the early morning across the World Trade Center. He had been planning this his entire life. He had a vision. He did the impossible. It gives me shivers just to say it. And of course he was arrested when he came off because it was illegal for what he did. But he did something that was always, he saw a skyscraper in a dentist office when he was very little, and he wanted that. And he made it happen. And people do make, all of us, we've made the impossible happen. We've all done it.
It's true. I mean, it all depends on your goals and your visions. And I know that you feel that spirituality and spiritual play affects things a great deal. Mm-hmm. And you bring it into your teaching. And do you think everybody is accepting of that?
No, I don't. No, I don't. I think that but a lot more than ever, a lot more than ever. Now, I mean, it depends on how we talk about it. It's just to talk about it, like we have this brilliance in us, and the more we help it grow, the more we nurture it, the more we dream about it, the more we meditate. I mean, that's a big part of it, right? To visualize and meditate, to give all of that information to the dream so that we can move forward. I mean, the smallest, what looks like small things, like when you say, okay, that can never happen. That can never happen. That can never happen. People will say that, oh, you can't do that. You can't do that. And then you just have this vision and something happens. And everybody is like, wow. But everyone can do it.
It's true.
Everybody can do it. Everybody can create things that seem impossible to create. And it's a question of really focusing. We have to do some work too to get the debris out of this. I mean, I just remember in meditation hearing certain things in my childhood were very destructive for me, and I had to work to move those out. it was important that I just did therapy work, and I was doing more mindful and yoga